Good morning. We are here at the Javits Center in New York City in the Care Credit booth, or it looks like Care Credit Metropolis because this booth is absolutely amazing. But I am here with my dear friend, Sameer Bhasin. And bright and early this morning, we're all caffeined up and we are ready to talk about the importance of culture in the dental office. So thank you for taking the time to be here with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're looking dapper today.
I had to get dressed for today.
Yes,
So,
yes, you did. That's part of your culture. Right, it's part of the
Yes.
culture of the dental meeting is that you
Yes.
have to be dressed.
Be ready.
So, be ready.
Be ready.
So I'd love to hear from you what you feel is important about culture, the culture of the dental practice, and really what is culture in general.
I kind of thought about it a little bit just as we were getting ready to get ready. Was like when you speak of culture, you immediately, I think of it like coming from the East, like Eastern culture, Western culture. But it really is not about the geography. It has nothing to do with where in the world you're coming from, but it's more about the person, the people. So it transcends the expectation and what you can expect from a certain culture. So now, if we take it away from the geography and make it, because it is about the person, the culture is actually about a person, how does that transcend into a dental office? I think it's very, very critical because a patient is unable to differentiate a doctor or his team's or her team's capability on price or clinical experience, but they can differentiate in how they were made to feel, their experience.
Absolutely.
And that comes from what kind of culture has that team. It's not that it's a spa practice, but
Right.
it could be it's about patients, it's about people, it's about you.
Right.
And I think that's where the culture becomes a little bit more clear, that it's not location, it's not geography, it's about the person and people who create it.
Right,
So,
and the people that make up the organization.
and people that make up the organization.
So I've done a lot of studying about it, and you and I have talked a good bit, and
Yeah.
I'll joke every now and then that practice management is dead, even though it's not, right? If it were, I wouldn't have a company, right? I wouldn't be even talking with you guys. But it's the individuals that make up the organization and the beliefs, the values, the attitudes, and the behaviors that patients can't say what it is, right? But
Exactly.
they feel it.
They feel it.
They pick up on it. And I would love to hear, because, again, Care Credit, you guys are awesome.
Well, thank you.
And it really, I love what you do, how I can just count on you with your practice development managers that are in the different locations. If you've never had a PDM, if you're a Care Credit office, or especially if you're not, if you've never had one of their practice development managers come in, they're amazing. They're fantastic. It's part of your program with them, and they're really working with you to help the patients get the care that they need. But what I love, and I'd love to hear you, I'm giving you permission to brag about Care Credit, right?
Wow.
Because every practice development manager that's ever been at a meeting that you guys have sponsored for me,
Yes.
or that I've had the opportunity to have a meal with or send into an office, just very professional, so helpful, and I would love to hear what you feel that Care Credit does as an organization to have that consistency to deliver that.
Thank you for saying that. We do love our team. They are phenomenal people, and I wish I could take the credit for creating that culture, but I think it comes down from leadership. It comes down from what is our biggest mission? It's not about let's increase Care Credit sales. It's
Right.
not about let's get more Care Credit. It's about what can my team help the dental team so they can help the patient.
Right.
So I think once the mission became clear, it was so much easier for us to be from the integrity standpoint, from giving them the authority to really be a partner to a dental office. And I think that's kind of changes. It's not I'm a vendor, I'm a sales rep for you.
Right.
I want to be your partner. The fact that most of offices already have Care Credit, I know the idea is like, I already have Care Credit, why would I need a patient, practice development manager come to me? But there's more to Care Credit than just let's do applications and transaction. It's
Right.
how can we help? What kind of demographics? What can we help you with? What's the trends in the profession? What's the trends with consumers? What's the trend with patients? What is it that makes one office? Because of the fact that we've given them the authority, and we like for them to go and attend lectures and speaking and sitting. It's primarily so that we can be a better resource to our teams, to our dental teams.
Right.
So I think when they take that and it takes away from the mindset of it's all about care credit. I think it just opens up. They're very smart people. It opens up the way for them to figure out what can I do to better help you, because once I help you, I help your team, and the patient is happy, guess what happens? I mean, it just starts to, it's a domino effect. It's an avalanche effect, actually. It just starts to roll, and then it's a win-win-win situation.
Yeah,
and
the
that's
triple
what we
win.
Love. Triple win.
I've heard you talk about that before. I think that's awesome.
So that's why, I mean, we love our team. I'm going to say, if you haven't, I think you're missing out on something.
Yeah, you're missing out. I mean, they're awesome people, and hey, I look at it this way: it's training that you can get without even having to hire somebody like me to help you with those conversations and also update you on the products.
Yes,
for sure. But going back to culture, and I've been doing this almost 25 years now, which is crazy to believe. But when I look at, and I'm always trying to figure out how can I help every office that I work with achieve their best level of success, and it's not necessarily the systems that they have, it's that culture piece. It's how they get things done.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to thank you guys for sponsoring the Unleash the Magic of Culture event that we'll have May 3rd and 4th, 2019, Magical Dental Retreats. This will be my plug for you guys to go and check that out. But it's to really help practices hone in on the most profitable practices that stay profitable consistently, and where people look forward to coming to work, have a healthy culture.
Absolutely.
It's not a when we make money, we'll work on the culture. And so I think Disney is, who better to separate consumers with massive amounts of their money than Disney, right? And Disney is definitely more of a want than a need. Although for me, every now and then I really need to go. It's kind of like a vitamin for me. But to really connect with and engage the consumer or the guest or the patient and the practices that we see that have the best case acceptance, they really not only have the patient financing piece in place, but they are increasing the want to for that patient to do the work. So I would love to hear your thoughts around your experience at Disney parks, or just the service that you see that they provide, and how you see that could correlate to the dental practice. What we could learn.
It all starts to tie in, especially when you talk about Disney, because what they have done, and is where we think we've done for our team, is to empower them to make the decisions, to take it upon themselves to improve the experience of our dental partners and for our dentists and their teams. And I think that's exactly what Disney has done too. If you were talking to anybody at Disney at the park, it's not only about the child in you, but it's also the child with you.
Right.
They've just done such a beautiful job. So when you start to take a look at it, it's not somebody from corporate Disney comes out to talk about it. It's just everybody that's involved, from the stores to the characters to anyone.
Absolutely.
And you can tell the pride, you can tell the connectivity, you can tell how important to them it is for you to have a great experience. And when you see that genuine interest and affection, you cannot not have fun, and you cannot not enjoy the time that you are there, and you don't mind separating yourself from your money, and still feel good about it. So,
and there are definitely less expensive vacations. Right?
Absolutely.
Tons of them.
Tons of them.
But they have a very loyal following, and I think that's and thing that I've seen happen, probably more so over the last 10 years than I would say the 10 years prior, is that patients do tend to leave practices more often than they used to. And so I think that whole engagement, the culture, having the patient feel like, I always laugh, the show Cheers, where the patrons would come in, Norm, they're calling everybody's name out. So Disney makes people feel special. And I think if people feel cared about, and then we also do a great job of conveying to them their current condition, also find out what it is that they really want.
Exactly.
And so often when I hear, and again, that's why I love the work that you guys do, we think that the main reason that patients don't proceed with treatment is money. And I don't believe that to be true.
No.
I think that might be, if you use 80-20 rule, that might be 20%.
Exactly.
But I think 80% don't want it bad enough.
Well, it's to 80%, a majority of them, to your point, it's not always about money. It's the hardest thing, the biggest, at least in my experience, has been when patients don't understand the value of dentistry that's being provided. And the value doesn't come from, can you do the treatment? That's not value. That's
Right.
just you being able to do the procedure. But the value comes from, has it tied to my why, the patient's why, that I feel that it is not only needed but wanted.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts to differentiate. That's where we start to see where the treatment acceptance changes, and then it just, again, it's a happy, because when the patient is happy, you feel good about what you just accomplished.
Absolutely.
You go to bed at night saying, you know what, I actually truly helped somebody today.
Yeah.
The doctors feel good about what they are doing because they are actually contributing that. But it's the value, and that's where it's not always about money. It could be.
Sure.
It could be, but I think once you have those systems and you've created that culture where everybody, it's a team.
Right.
If you have a staff, which
Oh,
is an,
yeah.
infection,
It's an infection.
you will know. But
Yeah.
once you have a team defines the culture. And once you
Absolutely.
have that culture, I don't think you have to worry about who is opening next door, what organization is coming into your town, which doctor is building right next to you.
Absolutely.
Because you've just built that loyalty, similar to Disney, similar to the one's office that I have seen. I rarely come across where they say, oh, you know, the ones who have great culture and great patient
Absolutely.
experience, where they talk about, I'm losing patients. It's rarely ever the case. So there's a lot to be, and I think that's where the focus, instead of the commonality, is all those offices, all these organizations, their focus is not what can I do to be more profitable. It is, what can I do for the person I'm serving?
Right.
And be it the person going to the Disney park or the patient that's walking in. I think the moment you transfer the focus on and you have the team and you've created that culture where your team believes the same way,
Absolutely.
I think it's a slam dunk,
Well, and I
at
think,
least in my experience.
Yeah, and I think from leadership, if we can work to make the team feel the same way about the practice that we want the patients to feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
In
yeah.
other words, if we were asking, we asked the patient for the Google review, if we were asking the team member for those reviews, would we be getting 4.5 to 5 stars?
Yeah.
And if we want to go home at the end of the day happy I mean, we're tired, right? We work
Yes.
hard. But I think one of the biggest parts too, and I pick on the Walmart Corporation because I used to work for them, right? So I can speak from experience. But in dentistry, there's really two paths that have shown up. We either have to get solely more efficient and quicker, right? How much more can we do of just the low-hanging fruit?
Yes.
Or we have to figure out how to raise the bar, amplify not only that patient experience but the office experience,
Yes.
and really find out what people want and do more to give that to them, or we're going to be dealing with what does my insurance pay? I only
Exactly.
want to do what insurance will pay.
And that's when the focus changes from you to something that you can't even control. You can't really control insurance or benefits, whatever you want to call it. But if once the focus is on the patient, the conversations are amazing, and
Yeah.
the feeling is amazing. I mean, I use my example all the time. I live in like the 7th largest city in the U.S., and I'm in a profession where I know a few good dental offices and great clinicians. But I drive an hour and 20 minutes door to door from my office to the dental office that I go to. They don't accept insurance. They don't even file for my insurance.
Right.
But it's
Wow.
it's the culture and watching it firsthand and the experience. And it's not always about. Again, I tell myself as I'm driving there that I'm going to have my records transferred. But when I am there, I come back and I'm driving back. I'm saying, it's really is only about a couple times a year I have to do this.
Right.
I literally talk myself into
Absolutely.
and that's what they've created. And watching this and that, an office like that, I know it's possible.
Sure.
I know it's possible.
Oh, it's very possible.
But it has to start from the leadership. It has to start from defining that culture. It has to start from getting the team on board. It has to start from shifting the focus from I want something for me versus what is it that my patients want.
Right, and how do we do that
And how do we
better
do
and more consistently? I love it.
Consistently.
So do you have a favorite either Disney attraction or ride or movie or Disney experience that comes to mind when you think about the Disney parks?
Okay, so I have this great experience that I want to talk about. We took, I'm not sure how long, what time we have, but
Oh, we have, you know what, until the battery goes down on it's at 92%. So everyone will probably be in bed,
yeah.
like again tonight.
Okay.
But we have that much time.
So just talking about the experience, and people talk about experience. I think it's one of those things everybody thinks they have it until you get to experience it. So about four years ago or so, we took at that point in time, she was an 8-year-old niece. It was her second trip to Disney, and so we went, and typical child, drinks a lot. We decide to get on a ride in Epcot, and literally as we were starting to go, and it's one of those slower rides that takes like good 4 or 5 minutes to go through. In the first 10 seconds, she looks at my wife and she says, I have to go pee.
Yeah,
and it's
go to
like,
the bathroom.
so my wife is doing a great job of, think about something else, look at this, look at that, and finally she says, I am thinking of something else, but I still have to go. So long story short, by the time we finished the ride, she had an accident in the ride, and we felt bad. We felt bad for what had happened. There was just no out. So my wife, tells the attendant, it's like, hey, we had a little pee accident, so we went over to a store because we needed to have her change her clothes.
Right.
And so we get there, and my wife tells the lady at the store, is like, this is what happened, and she's like, oh, sweetheart, just come and let's find you a dress. And she did. And she was very good about, she didn't want like a princess tutu or anything.
Right.
It was just something, she's very practical for an 8-year-old. So she comes back, and they said, you know what? I'm not saying it's like it was the free part that made it better, but what she told the little one to make her feel good was like, we all have those challenges every so often, so don't worry about it.
Wow.
So my wife is of course bawling, listening and watching this whole thing, and my niece said that she did not feel as embarrassed because it was like she was put at a place where she felt that, I know it should not have happened, but I'm not going to let it ruin my, and the person did literally saved her day from her experiences.
That could have been a bad memory for her.
It could have been a very
years,
bad memory.
And it turned it into a positive, and not that you guys weren't already fans.
Yeah,
but
yeah, and for us as well, so not only for somebody, like I said, it's not only the child in you, but the child with you.
Right.
And it just watching it is like, now that's classy. That's
Absolutely.
phenomenal. That's experience. And you know what? I don't know how much money I spent that trip, but my memory is how great we felt.
Absolutely.
Not what money we spent.
Yeah, that it was worth it.
So,
And I love that. And I think on our best day, any of us can make people feel great, right? Or on their best day. But I think when the going gets tough, when somebody has an incident or an accident, Disney trains people how to respond in those situations.
Yes.
And I know they practice things a lot. And I think that's important for the dental office, right? That we need to not spend a ton of time on it, right? But not just how do we make them feel when everything goes the way it should, but what about when it doesn't?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's where it changes. That's where the culture comes in. It's like, what happens when it doesn't?
Right.
And just like everything else, to your point, they don't do it. I'm sure there are some people that inherently have that knack.
Right.
But not everybody does, because we get busy doing what we do day in, day out.
Sure.
But the fact that it should be a focus to make it as part of a great experience, it does take practice.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you don't have those experiences in your office.
Yeah,
but,
although I know there have been a cleanup or two, at least in some of the pediatric practices with those chairs. It's a good thing they're not cloth.
Right. Now it makes sense.
It really does. Well, thank you again so much for spending this time. I always have the best time with you.
Oh,
thank you. We were joking beforehand. I said, now you guys can tell us. You may say, oh, no way. We think we should have a talk show. So you can comment later.
I love the way this lady thinks. She's amazing.
Yeah, don't hurt our feelings too bad if you don't think that we should. But again, thank you guys for joining us. Would love to have you join us for our retreat in May. We'll have the information on here as well. And if you're in New York City, start spreading the news. Well, we're not leaving today. We're already here. Yeah. So I hope you have an awesome meeting, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks so much.
Fantastic. Have a good one.